Surprise! Tesla's Cybercab launch event just around the corner. The official Tesla Robotaxi account today posting Ride in Robotaxi through till the 23rd of August for a shot to attend our Cybercab launch event. More rides equals better odds. More context. Must complete rides before 11:59 p.m. on the 23rd of August. Winners will be announced by 9 a.m. on the 25th of August. With those official posts in mind, this appeared on Hammer Reuters today. Tesla prepares for Cybercab launch in August, starting with rides to employees. The information reports. A nice shot of a bunch of Cybercabs, which, by the way, we've seen many thousands, 2,000+ of them now appearing all over the place. Small-scale testing in parking lots throughout the United States. So we all knew this moment was coming. Now it seems that it will begin sooner rather than later. This particular shot in San Diego, California. So let's read this article. Keeping in mind, Hammer Reuters doesn't have the best track record with getting things correct when it comes to Tesla, but given the post from the official Robotaxi account, and now this, there may be something to this. Tesla has told employees it is gearing up for a public launch of Cybercab, starting with a rollout in Austin, Texas, as soon as this month. The information reported on Monday, citing people with knowledge of the plans. Cybercab, a purpose-built autonomous vehicle without pedals or a steering wheel, is crucial to Tesla's Robotaxi ambitions, as the company is planning to eventually deploy the vehicle for its autonomous ride-hailing service. Now, not to be super nitpicky, obviously the Cybercab is a dedicated Robotaxi and it's important, but if there was no Cybercab, if Tesla was just using Model 3s and Model Ys, basically straight off production lines, they'd still absolutely dominate because no one can match those vehicles on cost, nor operating efficiency, nor on annual vehicle production volumes. I remind you that today, the fully unsupervised Tesla Robotaxis operating in the United States across multiple cities are Tesla's Model Ys. Cybercab isn't necessarily crucial to Tesla's plans. They could still absolutely dominate if they were just running 3s and Ys at massive scale. But Cybercab takes things to a whole other level. It is engineered, designed from the ground up to be a few things. 1, hyper-optimized for autonomy. This is why it is a 2-seat, 2-door vehicle that accounts for almost all ride-hail demand around the world. And for the rare exceptions, when more than 2 passengers need transportation, they can supplement with Model Ys, potentially Model 3s. But Cybercab is also engineered to be as efficient in terms of cost of operation as possible. This is also part of the reason why it's a 2-seat vehicle. Rather than having 4 or 5 seats and the extra mass, it's more compact, there's less material, which costs. And because there's less mass, you'll get further per amount of battery. This means the operational cost per mile, the literal energy cost, will be meaningfully lower than a larger, more massive vehicle. It doesn't end there though. The optimization of Cybercab is not done. It's also designed to be extremely aerodynamic and efficient, less drag, lower cost per mile again. But one of the biggest things that won't be obvious to a consumer using the service, but should be something that all investors understand, is that Cybercab is also designed to be able to be manufactured for a very low cost at extremely high speed out of an unbelievably small factory footprint. Meaning as Tesla scales up, they can crank these things out extremely rapidly at a very low cost out of a relatively tiny factory. All of these things combined means Tesla's cost to put Cybercabs on roads will be far lower than anything else offering an autonomous service. And we're not talking a few percent lower or tens of percent lower. We're talking a fraction the cost, half, a third or less. It also means that Tesla can put these on roads much faster than any other company. And because it's hyper optimized for autonomy, the ongoing operational costs will also be much lower than anything else out there. Here's the bottom line. As Tesla scales their Cybercab production volumes and begins saturating market after market after market with their dedicated Robotaxi, their hardware cost advantage to actually put a vehicle on roads, plus the ongoing operational cost advantage, plus their ability to rapidly produce and deploy these vehicles will mean that they could price their service so aggressively that they can steal market share away from Uber, Lyft, Waymo, Zoox, have a huge profit margin built in per mile, even though they're able to massively undercut anything else available. And here's the kicker. To price so low, yet with still an enormous profit margin built in, that any other service attempting to compete on cost per mile, which, spoiler alert, matters a lot to consumers, anyone attempting to match Tesla's cost per mile to compete on cost per mile, will not be able to do so profitably. You should probably pause the video now and actually let that sink in. But I know you're not going to. So instead, let me remind you about Tesla's Unboxed manufacturing system. The system that was developed specifically for the Cybercab to massively reduce cost to manufacture, to meaningfully increase how quickly the vehicle could be manufactured, and to meaningfully reduce the amount of factory floor space required per vehicle of output.
It gives us the opportunity to question requirements. This is something that is fundamentally only available at Tesla. In the places I used to work and the top manufacturing companies in the world, they don't sit together.
Yeah,
we are one team.
Nowhere I know has all these teams together thinking about these processes from the very beginning.
In fact, all of those engineering teams, manufacturing, design, automation, they're all in one org. They all report to one person. We can't point fingers at each other, so we have to solve them together, which is the best way to innovate. A traditional way of making a vehicle is this. You stamp it, you build a body in white, you paint it, and you do final assembly. And what's interesting is these shops are dictated by the organizational structures that exist. And they're dictated by the boundaries that exist in the factories that are laid out. If something goes wrong in final assembly, you block the whole line, and you end up with buffering in between. This is at the tail end of its manufacturing optimization. Henry Ford first invented this assembly line in 1922. It's been 100 years, and it's really hard to make a change after 100 years. And when you watch it happen, it's actually really silly to a guy like me. You take all these stamp panels, you put them together, then you put them in a framing station, you build a body that looks something like a car, you put the doors on, and then you paint them. Once you get the color, you take the doors off, and then you start putting the interior inside the car. It comes in through the openings that already exist. I wish it went in like this big piece like this, but there's actually people coming in and out of the car. There's awkward movements. Then we lift the car up, we put stuff from underneath it, we put it down, then we put the seats in the car, and finally, we close it all out with glass, and we bring those doors that went away for a trip, and we put them back in the car. Most of the time, we're doing this with a big, giant car and moving it and doing really nothing to it at all.
What's funny, though, in this kind of whole process is that just recently, Toyota just called this an engineering work of art.
True.
The Model Y.
That was humbling, but at Tesla, it's not good enough. If we're going to scale the way we want to do, we have to rethink manufacturing again. As part of the master plan, we have to make another step change in cost. We started this on Model Y when we made these huge gigacastings, and we deleted hundreds of parts. We simplified assembly with the Model Y structural battery, where we decided the floor should be a part of the car. The battery is the floor. We put the seats and the interior on the battery, and we bring it up through a big open hole, and we assemble it. And this allowed us to do things in parallel, fully rethinking the process and reducing the final assembly line by about 10%. And we thought maybe we could do this other places.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, the constraints become part of the solution rather than a problem.
So when you think about what I'm trying to say, I really want to hammer this home. When you have a car that's about 5 meters long, and you have people working around it, like we did in Model 3, and we change that to this process where we take different parts of the car, and we can do more at the same time, like we did with the Model Y structural battery pack. What you see here is us doing that on the front part of the vehicle, or the rear part of the vehicle. That means we can get more people working on the car, or robots, working on it at the same time. That means we have better operator density, less time doing nothing. I call that space-time efficiency. It has nothing to do with quantum mechanics. We can have that conversation later. But we get 44% more operator density, which means more work, less time walking back to the station, 30% improvement in space-time efficiency. And because we're not building it in and out of the car with those slow movements of those robots I showed you from production hell, when we go to automate it, it's going to be a lot easier. In the end, that will probably look something like this, where we balance parallel and series manufacturing in a way where we only do things that are necessary, with a much shorter final line, blocking a lot less of the entire rest of the factory, so we can optimize material flow using the best practices. And what that means, it's going to look something like this, where we build all the sides of the cars independently, we only paint what we need to, and then we assemble the parts of the car once and only once. We put them where they need to go. The interior is attached from a bottom-up or a top-down strategy, so there's more access for those robots and people. We aren't moving heavy objects around and doing nothing to it. And it means we're doing more work on the car more of the time. And then when we take all of these tested subassemblies and we put them together, we finally assemble the car only one time, putting the sides on with all of their parts to a front and rear that was already assembled, carrying the floor in with the seats, and finally boxing it out with the doors one time, just like Cybertruck. So in the end, you get the same car, but it's not going to be a Model Y.
Yeah, this is not. Yeah. This is a Model Y for illustration, not the next-gen vehicle.
In the end, what does that mean? To increase the scale and adoption of electric vehicles on the orders of magnitude that we just showed you, we have to make constraints part of the solution. It leads us to greater than 40% reduction in footprint, which means we can build factories faster, with less capex and more output per unit. Faster, less capex, more output per unit dollar. Zach's going to go into more details on this later, but it also means through this innovation and some of what my other engineering colleagues are going to talk to you about in the future, we'll reduce costs as much as 50%.
Oh, is that all? The bottom line, the world, especially the robotaxi competition, is not ready for Tesla's Cybercab. But Tesla's Cybercab is now ready for the world. Let's get back to that Reuters article. Cybercab is really not just key to Tesla's robotaxi ambitions, but key to completely running away with it with such unbelievable economics that it is simply not possible for other companies to compete on cost per mile at scale. Here are a few details from the report. Tesla has told staff that it plans to begin the Cybercab rollout by offering rides to its employees on public roads and then incorporate Cybercabs into its robotaxi service in Austin a few days later, according to the report. The company has been preparing for a launch with steps including test driving. And I mean, we've seen this. You can't really hide Cybercabs appearing on public roads throughout the US. Not just Austin, by the way. Again, we've seen this in many, many cities, many states, offering employee rides on private roads and conducting training with local first responders in recent weeks. Tesla did not immediately respond to our request for comment. The company started running tests of the production version of its Cybercab on public roads in June, and production of the vehicle is expected to ramp up later this year. It's been a long time coming, more than a decade in the making, but Cybercab launch is just around the corner. Imagine for a moment, if you will, what the folks at Uber are thinking. Not what they're saying publicly, but I mean what they're actually thinking internally, in private. How the fuck are we going to compete with this thing when they don't have to pay a human and it's engineered from the ground up to be ultra low cost to put on roads and to operate? And without a human driver, it's a vastly superior service. What do you think the folks at Waymo are thinking? Not what they're saying publicly, what they're saying privately, what they're thinking. What's keeping them up at night? How the fuck are we going to compete with this thing? Costs us over $100,000 to put hardware on roads. Tesla's profitably selling Model 3s, Model Ys to consumers for around $40,000 or high 30s in the US. They're manufacturing from mid 30s. They're going to be making this thing for mid 20s. How the fuck are we supposed to compete with that? By the way, the answer is they can't profitably or sustainably compete with Tesla Cybercab at scale. The elephant in the room, really, is just how quickly can Tesla actually begin deploying Cybercabs in city after city after city and rapidly scaling their service. Tesla first needs to collect a statistically significant amount of data, which they're doing, but I wouldn't quite say they've done yet. Last we heard, they're approaching 2.5 million miles of paid robotaxi data thus far. That's a lot, but to be absolutely certain of the safety of the software, they'll need more. For what it's worth, I've dramatically tempered my expectations for the pace of the robotaxi fleet scaling, probably massively overcompensated for my previous extreme optimism. I'm still expecting massive long-term success, but with a somewhat slower ramp than I previously expected. You want to see the exact estimates, at least in the base case, you can see that in my full 20-year Tesla and SpaceX valuation model over on Patreon. To investor supporters and above, just check out the link below or head to patreon.com/solvingthemoneyproblem. In my extremely unhumble opinion, it is not a question of if Tesla will succeed, if they will dominate, if they'll have an unbeatable cost advantage, scale advantage, production advantage. The questions aren't around if. That's obvious. The questions are simply when. And this is a big signal, officially launching the Cybercab, possibly as soon as a few weeks from now. If you are a Tesla investor, consider what the company might look like just a few years after the Cybercab officially launches. What's going to happen to human-driven ride-hail and Tesla's so-called robotaxi competition with cripplingly high hardware costs, cripplingly high operational costs, and cripplingly brittle non-generalized autonomous software. I can't tell you exactly how long this story takes to play out in full, but I do, with a very high level of confidence, know how this story ends. Do you? Thanks for watching. If you appreciate the content and want to support the channel, check out the links below where you can get early access to daily videos, unlock hundreds of exclusive pieces of content, and plenty more. AG1 has been part of my daily health protocol for almost half a decade. It's packed full of vitamins and minerals and helps me fill in nutritional gaps while supporting energy, digestion, and immune function. It also has prebiotics and probiotics to promote gut health. I take my health very seriously, and so should you. Try AG1 today by visiting drinkag1.com/SMR or click the link in the pinned comment and enjoy a free welcome kit with vitamin D3 plus K2 and AG1 travel packs. That's drinkag1.com/SMR.